Hello and welcome to Every Day with an Angel podcast weekly here at 4 o'clock Pacific time. If you're just joining us or if you're going to be joining us, I'm grateful for any comments and any loving things. So it's been an interesting week. We had our full moon, we had an eclipse with it attached, and like I was listening to my astrologer, and it's time for old patterns to be done. And so, with that as we go forward in this new dance, it's like, how do you do this? And that's why, and we just had Halloween in the US here. And so, how do we do it? And I love Susie. Thank you, Susie, for being here again. We
Mhm.
just talked, and in this we have only one more time with her until future knowings after the new year. She has projects she wants to do, but she wants to kind of concentrate on those. So and this is not necessarily a busy time, but once a month for an hour, but still, as we know, when we want to get things done, we want to get things done. So Susie, thank you for being here again with me. And thank you. It's All Souls Day, the day after Thanksgiving or Thanksgiving, Halloween, which is an interesting day. This is the first year I didn't go out, and I was so grateful that I could be huddled in my room, in my house, because I don't know if you, but I just kept seeing spirits around, even during the day during Halloween. And I'm like going, I don't want to be out at night. Thank you very much. Not going into that, not trying to drive in it, not going to do anything like that with that. So today is one of those days where it was a little bit calmer with the spirits. They were a little bit more, well, I'm just going to say that working in elementary school, that a lot of those kids that dress up at certain things, they're open channels, and so they tend to be a little bit more of that personality that they wore those costumes for. So so today was a little bit more calmer that way. So Susie, thank you for being here. I kind of rambled on for a minute, but thank you. I'm Natasha Venter and Angelic Clarifications, and I'm an intuitive medium and spiritual coach that I like to help people through. And so Susie is a lot the same as me, and we're just good friends. So hi, Susie.
Hey, Natasha. Hey, everybody. Thanks for showing up and joining us. That's the interesting thing about this. I grew up in the Catholic Church, so we had All Souls Day, All Saints Day, and the festival, the fall festival we had celebrating how the earth is changing and shifting into that hibernation sort of state. And it's also when the veil is the thinnest, so spirits can come through. That's the whole thing with Halloween. You set out the gourds, those pumpkins. They started out as gourds, and they were carved in such a way to scare off
Mm-hmm.
the less than pleasant
Spirits.
spirits that would cause trouble. So, yeah, and for us, we don't get any trick or treaters at our doors, so we turn off the lights and close the curtains, and invariably have pizza. Yeah, so I am Susie Parker Goins of Blue Lightning Healing, and I am a channel who brings source through in ways that makes it accessible to you, relatable. So, like for me, Archangel Michael's all like, "Yo, dude, how you doing?" At least that's how I see him.
Oh, me too.
And yeah, and Mother Mary is like a cup of soup or a cup of tea and a nice scone, those sort of things. And I can embody them and show you how they feel to me, and so that you can learn to discern that energy. Or I receive messages. I also talk to ancestors. However, I do not argue with grandmothers. That never goes well. Um,
I can understand that statement. the
yeah,
was it the architect or the ones that
archetype.
run, yeah, the ones that run the family, yeah, you don't argue with
Oh
them.
yeah. Oh yeah. The
Yeah,
matriarchs that
matriarchs,
run the
that's what I
family.
wanted. Yes.
Yeah. And so I do have some experience talking with other people's ancestors, some great, some not so great, but that's what we're going to talk about, is that I think that spectrum of experience that somebody can have with somebody who has crossed over.
Mhm.
And sometimes you got to set up boundaries, sometimes they set up boundaries, and I just I love what I do because I can find new and exciting things to do that just entertain me, and it helps the person sitting with me. And That's another one of my favorite things is those looks of confirmation when I am able to contact an ancestor and say, "This is what I'm getting," and they're all so excited. But you can find me at bluelightninghealing.com. I've got as I do, and it's not limited to that. Also the events that I'm gonna be at, and I just sent out a newsletter today, so it's all a great thing. So I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to have everybody listening in. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Susie. I'm always so grateful to have you because I love our perspectives together. I love the way that we've kind of, we each come at spirit life with our own understandings and blessings. And it's amazing when we're going through this negotiation of the veil thinning. And many of us who are not mediums are now really getting the feeling of things coming on, and um, that that it's not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. It is. So I have two wonderful people who are here for us, and right now who've made the comments. I know there's probably more.
Mhm.
Seems like it's time for souls to cross back over or the other side. And Veronica says hi and hello, everyone. How welcome. Thank you very much for being here and communicating that. Yes, and this is the time, we're coming into the holiday season, and so souls are, grandparents, grandfathers, or grandparents, aunts, uncles. I even get a lot of messages from great grandparents now. I
Mhm.
don't know if you are too, but because I know that we're going through a lot of the things that our ancestors went through when they were coming over with the wagons, that get up and get out of our own world into a whole new knowing. And when we're in that story and when we're in that knowing, it's been amazing the information that they bring through to help somebody get through what they're going through with this upheaval our government's going through, our understanding's going through. And we haven't done that in what I'm always off on my centuries and decades and stuff like that, but we haven't done that in like 200 years.
Mhm.
This upheaval, at least in our country, where our government's being rewritten, almost our money's being realigned again, and we did that not too a couple hundred years ago. But it's one of those things. So going back to spirit, that this is a time to really communicate with our loved ones if
Mhm.
you want to. And we were talking earlier about how sometimes they don't want to talk to us and we don't necessarily want to talk to them, right?
Right, right, right. I was on an online panel and somebody wanted to talk to her grandmother, and I said, "Okay, fine." I tuned in, and it was a panel that had, 4 or 5 other practitioners there, and what I saw was a woman with a low bun, and she had on a fringed triangular shawl, but her back was to me, and I said, "Excuse me, ma'am, I have a question I'd like to ask you," and she looked over her shoulder at me and went, "Eh," turned away, and I'm like, "Okay now, thanks. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much." And when I relayed that information to the person asking the question, she went, "Yeah, that's my grandmother. Okay." And we moved on from there. But there have been other times, like, when my dad passed over, we had some deep conversations, and he had to evaluate how he had lived his life, and he had said, "Okay, I'm, this and that," and then he crossed over. And, other times you've got people that you don't want to talk to, and they may intrude in your space. You get to tell them to back off, use whatever colorful language you want to.
Mhm.
Depending on your relationship, you can tell people to back off. And they get to cross through to the light and figure their stuff out, and if they don't want to, you still don't have to talk to somebody you don't want to. It's
Exactly, exactly. I know that, because my understanding um, is that, when we cross over, we get a bigger picture of what this world is about. And
Mhm,
so they don't always have the hurtfulness, the anger, the frustration. They kind of go through the soul review of their life, not a life review as a human, but the soul review as a human, as being human. And it gives a different perspective and understanding, right? But we've held on to this, right? We've held on to this negotiation. And like for me, my grandmother had, we called her a roommate, but they were kind of boyfriend and girlfriend, but she was very Catholic and couldn't, and her husband passed away. So she couldn't have a relationship as of legal in her understanding as the religion would be. And so it was kind of a mixed message from our family members. Yeah,
Yeah.
they go camping together, they go do all this thing, but they always had separate beds, they always had separate bedrooms. He rented a room from her, but it was like 20 some odd years that they were together.
The vows are till death do you part. So,
And it was his, right? And so with that he would slap our back hands when we come through the door. His chair was always by the front door. So when we opened up the door, we would run through so he couldn't hit us, tap us. Well, in those days, it wasn't necessarily, people would go, he does that? No, okay, just run faster. It's not like, or come through the back door, it's whatever happens. But one day I was smelling smoke and I knew it was him.
mhm.
And as much as he probably wanted to come and say sorry, I told him, go away. I'm not dealing with
Right.
you. I'm not having any communication with you. I don't want to start this relationship. I didn't want to have a relationship with you I was grateful that you were there for grandma, but yet I'm not going to have a relationship with you now because I didn't want one then.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then at the same time, him visiting me got me a chance to work through that, understanding that I was touched when I wasn't happy about it. And how can I create better boundaries with myself now? Yeah. So I use that trigger as another trigger to work on some other stuff, to help.
Yeah. Yeah. Being able to tell them, "No, that wasn't okay, and I don't wanna talk to you." But it does work on the other way. Somebody close to us crossed over, I don't know, it was 2 years ago, and I've tried to reach out to them, and like that grandmother, he's very much like, "No, all you're gonna do is yell at me." I was like, "Well, yeah, you were kinda racist, so yeah." But that's his thing. It's not for me, and he'll do it when he wants to, when he's no, he's, like, over there like, "Nope, I don't ever have to talk to you," and so, yeah, they'll go through whatever life review. It is entirely possible to have people who have crossed over who don't know they're dead.
Hmm.
When I opened up to it, there I was talking about this video on YouTube, and it was how to open to be a medium, and the woman is standing there on a stage, she's got a microphone, and I don't remember who she is, I apologize. But she said, basically, you say yes, and then you set the boundaries about who you're gonna talk to. And one of the things I did when I said yes, I was driving along the river road, and I saw all of these people, like, standing around on there, and I said, "Do y'all have a problem? Are you okay?" And a lot of them didn't realize they had been gone, and so they were standing at the places that they had crossed over at, that they had left their body at, and I said, there's a light up there. It's
Yeah.
it's divine light, it's divine source. You can even go and look at that. Bless you. You
Thank you.
can head towards that and, move along. So, I feel like the river road's a lot clearer, and there are some people who won't go.
Yes.
I get that, but being able to help them move and to
Have a
help them
choice.
find that peace is really quite gratifying.
Hmm. Oh, I've helped many cross over. There was a boy who wasn't there when I was coming down the stairs at a friend's house, and then all of a sudden I got pulled to be on the stairs with this one that appeared, and he was sadly a teen that committed suicide.
Yeah, I've encountered them.
And he needed somebody to sit down and talk with him, and I
Mhm.
did. And he said that, I just want my family to know that I'm sorry, and I didn't know who his family was. He says he lived around there, but I wasn't one that was living there, so I couldn't go around knocking on the door. Hey, did you lose a kid? Hey, did you lose a kid? Hey, did you lose a kid? I wasn't going to do that. But I sat there and I said, I will honor you. And I did tell my friend who was there, who understood who I was. And I said, well, if you have a neighbor that talks about this, that, if you can just give him a message that he's in a good place, and he's feeling good about it. And then I called in my usual go-tos, Jesus, or, it took Jesus this time and Mother Mary. He needed
Yeah.
some tender care. He was scared, and he needed some tender care. And so I called in, Jesus and Mother Mary, and they took him, and they gratefully, because I wasn't going to leave him in the house haunting the stairs. He came primarily because of the light of the house and then me. So I helped him cross over, and that's the joyfulness of doing this work. But at the same time, though, I made sure he did not come home with me.
Oh, yeah.
So there's the
Yeah.
boundaries that we talked about, right?
Yeah. Yeah. There are times you could just go to a place and you see them there, but again, they'll see your light or they'll say, "Oh, you're not crazy. We'll just ride along with you," and then they become an attachment on you. So that's that process of, nope, you need to go someplace else. I have encountered folks where I have actually seen, well, golly, when Joey, my oldest, was like, we had just moved up here, so he was 3 or 4 months old. I actually saw my mother in a chair. She had died, I don't know, like, when I was 13. So at that time, that was, I don't know, a long time ago. But I saw her in the chair and I saw her and she said, "It's all going to be okay." And then I've not been able to contact her since. And then considering how my life has gone since then, I'm like, okay, could have been nice to have a little more information there, but that's okay. But being able to actually see them is it's wild. There was another I was talking with somebody who had said she had a teen who had committed suicide, and he materialized in a chair, and his hands were in his lap, and his hands were hanging between his knees, and he was just hunched over, and I'm like, "Whoa, that's pretty wild." But then other times they'll talk to me. I have these other 2 clients who are adorable, and I was giving information. I said, and information. And then I said, I don't want to be racist, but I have a really heavy sense of Jewishness about this. And his jaw dropped. His wife threw her hands up in the air and slid out of the chair. And so I get to look at him and go, did I did I get something right there? So that confirmation was amazing. Um, but this isn't something like just us. We are not the only ones who can do it. There is that, let me say yes to it, and then define those boundaries. What are you willing to do? And being able to say no. I think there's a lot of triggers that can happen if you're dealing, say, with I have someone who has abusers who have crossed over.
Hmm.
And when she was really sick, she said they were there. And it was it was important for her to hear that she can tell them to go away,
Hmm.
that they no longer have power over her. That was so critical for her because she had to reclaim her power from
Hmm.
all of these years she had experienced with these people. And I said, "Yeah, go ahead, sing and laugh and be okay that they're gone because they can't hurt anybody anymore. They are not hurting you." And that's, goes into other trauma related things. But I think that's a really big first step is to be able to tell them to get the hell away.
Yeah, exactly. Because I want to, and Sue, I'll get back to your question here when we get done with this little side game here. That you know, we do create. I have an understanding, and I want to be careful how I say this because I don't want to put something on somebody, because everybody's truth is their truth. So this is just a perception, a perspective, an understanding that we have, and that many times when we have the abuser, that we can create an energy of that person that hangs around us, right? And that's part of the part that we go, get out of here, you know. And then there's the soul part of the person that comes and kind of mingles with that energy a little bit too. So there's that kind of that dual, and this is bigger, this is quantum physics kind of thing, type of thing. But It's that understanding that thoughts are energy. Thoughts create energy. Thoughts can create form if we put enough energy into it. And so there again is that if you do have an understanding of abuse or someone around you, remember, tell it to go away.
Mhm.
Tell it, whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is. Tell it to go away, because the fact that the more power that you give it, the more power it has over you. You know, and that spirit, that soul, that's whatever you want to call it, has that impact on us. And I know I've dealt with abuse in many different ways, and so there's been many times where even my husband, before he got sober, I had to tell whatever it was to get the frick out of the house, because it
And
it was bringing in some energy.
and once you say it, believe that it happens, believe that they are gone.
Yes.
Because if you're gonna sit there and keep poking at the bear like that, it's like, "Are you going? Are you going?" They'll say, "No, I'm still here because you keep thinking about me." So
Yes.
be as assertive as you need to be and just like, "Nope, go away." And you can intention and imagination are amazing. You can put them in a bubble, you can send them out to the cosmos, you can do what you need to, but believe that what it is you're doing is valid and will stick.
And the mind and your emotions will try to bring them back. That is
Mhm,
part of the scenario. And I've had to do this where I've just said, "Stop, go away, you're done, we're done with this." And I would have to stop the thought or the emotion that was created around that scenario and said, "Go away, go away. I don't believe it
mhm.
anymore. Go away." And so sometimes we have to redo something in the physical to create, with our mind and our emotions, to negotiate through the spirit work, if that makes any sense.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sue has a question here. I think this is a good segue here to do this. So Sue says, I believe when people have had a tough life, they are cocooned in love when they die. Can you confirm that actor Matthew Perry has currently cocooned in love? If this
Yeah.
feels appropriate. Thank you for asking if this feels appropriate, because
Yeah.
it is a tricky place to tap into other
Yeah.
people's lives without permission in a way. So thank you for understanding that.
Yeah, I believe he is. He was a public figure, and he wrote about his struggles, his life in the memoir that he recently released. And if I remember right, he says, "I don't wanna be remembered just as the guy on Friends, because he had so much life after that.
Yeah.
He also wants to be remembered that he advocated for mental health and for addictions and stuff like that."
Mhm.
Um, I don't think that anyone who crosses over is not cocooned in love.
Yes, I
I
agree.
know with the outpouring of love that everybody has shown for him and for other, not necessarily always celebrities, but there are so many people who cross over and people do send them away and send them off with love so that they can process their lives. Some of them hang around, some of them don't. Some of them just go straight through to the light. But yeah, I absolutely do believe he was surrounded by love.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Totally. I totally can concur on that he was totally graced. She says, I thanks. I'm currently reading his book and sending him love.
good.
It's one of those things, and you know, everybody, and I include personalities like Hitler, and that they all go to divine love. They all find out why they were that way. Some of them
Mhm,
are brought to a special place, as I call it. In for our definition, more it is for what I see, that they do go through a more unique life understanding and review than, let's say, my dad, who passed, who just kind of was. I always said he had, even when he was alive, one foot in this world, one foot in the other. So he just kind of crossed over and did his little thing, right? where when you got somebody who's been a murderer or has a really traumatic life, commits suicide, or that they do get bundled up and said, "Come with us. We'll take care
Mhm.
of you." And it's one of those things. It's an interesting place to witness that. And we cross over. Everyone crosses over differently. Just talking about my mom, my dad, and my uncle. It's like my dad crossed over, came right back, and spent time with me until my first child was born. You know, Matter of fact, I had to tell him, "Privacy, Dad, privacy." Yeah, because he was so like right there. And my mom, it was over a year before I had a dream of her. My dad pulling her into the view at the bottom of the stairs, and then my husband came in and woke me up. And my uncle, I have kind of those conversations with her, with him, but yet not, and I really get the picture um that when we're going, "Hi, boo boo, how you doing?" There's a guy from Borderlands, and he's watching right now, and his name is Boo Boo Garcia. I was on his podcast, and he does a great podcast. Uh, that when we're going into this story and this dance, um, that everybody crosses over a little bit differently,
Mhm.
you know. And how do we negotiate that? I know that for me, there's times when somebody who's crossed over, and I'll have a conversation with them for their loved one right away, and they're having conversations with their loved one right away. And then there's other times where I have an angel that's an interpreter angel that kind of runs the conversation because they're not ready to discern the difference between this world and their world yet. And going through that, and I almost think that Matthew Perry is a little bit in that category. I feel like he's needing a little bit of tender care, even though I see him visiting some friends, and he's very awakened, but yet he's still tender, if that makes any
Mhm.
sense. um
Yeah, yeah.
uh
There are some folks who do wanna visit, and other times, I was working on somebody who was saying her knee was bugging her. It's like, "Oh, that's an auntie of yours, and she doesn't wanna go through." And so there was somebody on the other side through, I guess you could call it a door, and that auntie got pulled through. She didn't really wanna go through, but it's like, "Look, this is to your benefit to
mhm.
cross all the way through." That's part of a big part of ancestral healing is when you're going back through the generations. You may be able to talk to the grandparents, but say you've got a family pattern that happens, 3 or 4 generations back, you can help them through so that they can shift it. It's, working with people who have crossed over can be really enlightening and healing for everybody involved. And so that process Mr. Perry is going to be going through or is going through, he wants to make sure that maybe they're okay and let them know that he's better now. He is not worried about all of the stuff. And, it doesn't really matter what the toxicology report says or what the autopsy says. It matters that he is in, feels like a more peaceful place where he does not have to, uh, to walk that thin line between celebrity and regular person.
Exactly. I think
Mhm.
yeah, that was a moment for him.
Yeah,
A lot of times he couldn't perform
yeah,
what they wanted him to perform as. Uh,
yeah, yeah.
um, Brendan Fraser is another one I get like that too. But it's one of those things. So, Susie, what? Okay, talking about mediumship here a little bit,
Okay.
because we can all be mediums. Medium means, conversations between this and that. you know, Basically. And so with that when we start, because I know the veil is thinning, and a
Mhm.
lot of people are feeling things and we're coming into the months of where intuitive knowings are really going to be hitting us. And so, and then we got, dinners and Thanksgiving, the Thanksgiving, if you so choose to do that. and then the holiday season that, it doesn't matter what you believe in, it's still the season, it hits us. You know, that how do we discern when and how do I put this? Okay, so like we're cooking dinner and all of a sudden we get the smell of Aunt Georgia.
Mhm.
That oh, that's the perfume of Aunt Georgia. And oh, she used that seasoning? Oh, I'm going crazy.
No,
I mean,
no, those are
how do we
absolutely
discern
valid.
that?
Well, that way, I mean, what you're talking about is that you're smelling, so you're using your body to give you your information. Some people would call that not quite muscle testing, but applied kinesiology. You're checking in with your body. I talk about that with clients all the time. You can smell it. You're using one of the clairs, clair
Sentient,
aliens, I think it is. I don't know, clairsmellians. I don't know what you call it. I forget. But, so
Thank you.
sometimes you can
I do
see
too.
things.
Claire audience,
Sometimes you can see things or
clairsentient.
yeah.
Clairsentient.
No, clairsentience. Okay. Y'all look up the clairs, because, you can feel things, you can know things, you can see things, you can hear things, you can taste things. Your body is going to tell you things. And then from there, I would say, I encourage you to talk, ask questions of this input that you're getting. So is it Auntie Georgina? Is that her? And what is she here for? Now, if your body clenches up over Auntie Georgina and she makes you tense, that's when you can say, no, I'm good. I'm
Mhm.
good. You can just go on or, put her over in the corner or just ball her up in gold and send her out. Or if and this client who had the mother who was Jewish, um, she'll just put her hand lightly on somebody and say, "Look, this is what I would do." She was very positive and reassuring. Other people get input and what they can hear, this person's particularly sensitive, and she can hear that, well, I don't do it that way. And that's her own relationship with that in-law. And she was able to say, nope, I don't need you. So more boundaries. But you use your intuition, you trust, you believe what you're getting. If you think that's Auntie Georgina, then you can do that really fast calculation of how does she make me feel? Do I want her here? What information does she have? And what do I need to do? Because it's still about your personal sovereignty. We're not going to have spirits coming in. This is that time of year where it all can go haywire and everybody can get triggered on different things. And, it was a big thing for us at Thanksgiving to not do the turkey and stuffing and all the traditional things because it was just so stressful.
Mhm.
And so we're not serving 942 people at our house. It's just the 4 or 5 of us. So we do other things. And then
Yeah.
Christmas is the same thing. We go to our favorite Chinese buffet, so we have rewired those things. We still are honoring ancestors. I still honor my ancestors in many ways. Like every day, I set up my coffee, and if I have extra, I'm pouring it down the sink. Whatever I have left over, I'm pouring it down the sink. And because my two grandmothers loved coffee, it's like, this is for my ancestors. And I can
Mhm.
hear one of my grandmothers just cackle in my ear, and the other one going, "Oh, Ernestine." And yeah, yeah. But to incorporate it in your daily life. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's great fun. It's great fun, and they will come and talk to me, and I can feel them there. So that's a daily practice. It's not a big deal. I don't have to do dumb suppers and stuff like that, but being able to honor the ancestors, you're not trying to placate them.
Mhm.
You're just honoring them. It's like, "Thank you. Without you, I wouldn't be here, but, if you're not a pleasant person, you can go away." But we're opening up to that season. Boy, I sure did derail in my initial thing. What were we talking about?
That's okay, that's okay. Well, it's about but you actually did work around it, so it's no
Oh,
big deal.
gosh.
You know, um, but that's that's what I love about us, because conversation goes where it's meant to go. And
Yeah.
that's the thing is that, like for me at Thanksgiving, and it depends on my emotions. It really depends on
Yeah.
my emotions. Is that I sometimes put a small plate at the
Mhm.
dinner table, and where the chair is, and I honor the people, and then I tell them to go away afterwards. Okay, clear the
Yep.
house out. Clear
Yep.
the house out. Whenever I do a session for people, I have actually some candles that I write or that I light, right? And then I mention when these candles burnt out, everybody goes home.
Uh-huh.
Everybody
Clearing your
goes home.
space.
Yeah,
Oh,
this is my
yeah.
spiritual room, and it's blocked off. The spiritual room is blocked off because it's and only my guardians discern who's allowed in here. So it's not good or bad or indifferent that this is happening, but we have spirit around us. We're always going to have spirit around us. I don't care how good a protection you have, you may get a visitor. You may.
Mhm.
But at the same time, though, you can say out. And I can tell you, my protection around my house doesn't allow everybody in, but it will
Right.
allow certain ones in that are allowed. At the same time, sometimes I do get a pop in, but they have to be pretty intentful on why they're here, and then they're usually kicked out. Like we kept popping fuses, and I was like, "What is going on in this house?" And Michael goes, you have something attached to your fuse box, and we'll just take it plunk out of here. Thank you, Michael." I heard an energetic thunk, like it got taken out, and it was like, "Thank you, Michael." Now our palm pump still is popping fuses, so now we got to take care of the physical thing that's causing the
Yeah.
problem. But
Yeah.
there's, the domino effect. So things can come in even though you have protection, but what do you do with it? Get rid of it right away if something happens. And that's the thing is that, like last year when I was having problems with the heat, I talked to the elemental, because it was really cold. So fire, I needed to bring fire back into the elemental system. And then my heater started working well. It's like, you know, bringing things in and bringing things out. It's about boundaries, and it's about what do we want around us? What do we want in our home? And there's sometimes where I'm vacuuming and I ask Archangel Michael, can you vacuum with me, please? Can you just kind of clear out this energy and clear out the corners and do the vacuuming with me so that my house is better feeling and better knowing? If
Yeah.
that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Clearing out is really important, and it's not just on the physical level. You can do that energetic clearing, which is, for me, you can either use a waterfall meditation where everything washes out into Mother Earth and then is followed in with Source, or you can do the counterclockwise to clear it, clockwise to bring it back in. But I do notice that difference when we do vacuum the house. Sure, all of the dog hair is gone for now, but I can feel energetically that it is feels a lot lighter.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and we don't have many people, like inhuman people, in-body people coming through, but with the work that you and I both do, we get other stuff, and making sure you clear it afterwards is supremely important. Sometimes I'll stop and talk to 'em. It's like, "Are you doing something useful? No? Okay, bye-bye.
Yeah.
And if you are, let's talk and see how I can incorporate you into a practice, or are you a one-time thing?" I think, that's the way I enjoy doing it, is to ask the questions. It's interesting when I'm doing a reading and I'll sit there and somebody's looking at me, and I tend to look off over their left shoulder and go, and I'll look and they're looking over their shoulder like, "What's going on?" Like, "No, I'm talking. Are you looking at me?" It's like, "No, I'm not. I'm talking to your guides," and stuff like that. So, um, asking questions if you feel comfortable doing it again, or you're tapping into your intuition to see if
Mm.
whatever that is, whatever that energy is helpful to you, and if it's not, absolutely boot them out. Archangel Michael will walk up with his baseball bat and he'll just go, okay, you done with that? Okay. You're out of here. Like, great. Thank you, sir.
Exactly. So now we brought up a conversation, and so segue here, because I want to
Okay.
go to something here. Claire, she said Claire audience or Claire F.
Claire aliens. Okay.
Yeah,
Clear
is
aliens is that getting that? Because my dad would come through as his tobacco, Borkum Rift. Borkum Rift. It was a big ass can of tobacco and it was cherry flavored. So thank you very much. I'm sorry I missed who offered that up to
that was
us.
my friend Sue.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Sue.
So now we just mentioned about guides and the angels, Archangel Michael, Mother Mary. Are they considered the same as our ancestors visiting?
I don't think so. But here's the one thing that I tell folks. And first off, we all know that everything is energy. Einstein science has proved that. So the laptop is energy, the water is energy. We have energy with us.
Mhm.
Source is energy.
Yes.
Our guides are energy. Our ancestors are energy, but they're all a part of us. So guides are essentially an aspect of energy that's us because
Mhm.
we're all energy. That's why healing work is important because as you heal, I heal. And as I heal, you heal because everything is energy and everything is connected. So, our ancestors, if you look at it biologically, yeah, they're a part of us because we've got some of their DNA in there. Guides are a part of us because we're all part of that energy thing. I think to help the human mind make those differentiations, I don't see that we are necessarily descendants of Mother Mary, but that sixth generation back grandmother, yeah, we are biologically her, but her energy is here too. It gets all kind of like in the middle, it all just kind of gets all mixed up in there.
Exactly. But
But
I can tell you though that when my guides, it's kind of like it's like they all come into a room and it's like, okay, guides, I know that some of you are still here that needed to leave because you were just kind of having a good conversation with everybody else. But this room is getting kind of full.
Mhm.
So whoever doesn't need to be here anymore, can you just step back a little bit so that there's room to breathe? Even
Yeah.
with my guides, I find that it's like so that I can discern who's here to help me and who is stepping back to be my overseers, right? And there again is boundaries, you know? Like I know that Archangel Michael, he's with me all the time. He's with you all the
Yeah.
time. But at the same time, he's not here all the time. Right? He's not right with us all the time. Mother Mary, same way. She's available when I call her. She's with me, but yet she's not with me. And that's the difference between, letting like our ancestors, yeah, they come up and whisper in our ear, but step back. Our
Mhm.
guides come up and whisper in our ears, but please step back. And that's the discernment about how we are the body of the human that personally enjoys helpful space, which I'm grateful for that they are on call and that they are interacting with me and that they are close when I need them. At the same time, though, I'm grateful that I can sleep at night.
Mhm.
I'm grateful that I can take a shower, that if I want to, I don't feel like I'm being watched. You know,
Yes.
I can
Yes.
eat dinner without being tapped on, you know? That No, that does not mean that I'm that way all the time. No, there's sometimes where I'm getting tapped and that's where I'm getting insights and that kind of stuff. And my husband gets crazy because it's like, would you not pick up your phone during dinner? And it's like, but I'm getting an insight. I'm sorry. Some information just popped in and but it's that one thing and that's two things and that's our story thing. And it's like, how do we negotiate this, right? And believing in that.
Well, there is that mystery woman video. She said there was another medium who would say she had encountered. the medium she learned from would put on a hat and say, okay, y'all, when I got this hat on, I'm open and I'll listen to everybody. But if I don't have that hat on, y'all leave me alone. And so that's a boundary you can set with ancestors. Like, I'm not ready for it. Y'all need to step back. The same thing, you're setting a boundary. And sometimes it needs to be something that tactile, that physical, for you to
Mm-hmm.
say, nope, not today. It's like, I get that whole being watched in the shower. I was like, yeah, you had better be backing up, buddy, because this is not okay. Yeah. And I mean, even Michael does that too. I'm like, come on, man. How long we been working together? Cut it out. But personal boundaries, it's helping you learn about your personal sovereignty, what you can handle and what you're willing to handle, and to give you the confidence to be able to say, no, not
Mm-hmm.
now. Because some folks will get in there, some guides will get in there and say, but you need to do this. Like, you must be a new guide here. Let me tell you how this works out. So right now, you need to take a break. I will call you in when I'm ready for you. But no, 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 we're old hands at this, and I can help you, because being in the body, we can help guides too, just as much as they can help us. They may be there learning stuff, and you're helping them cross over and to experience the light in a way that they can become better at what they're doing. Ancestors too.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, exactly. And I think that in my mind's way of negotiating this is that my grandmother was in the human form, right?
Mhm,
And so they have a different feel to me than, let's say, my guide, who we were in a past life together, and he helps me with technology. He was a human, but yet he has a different intentional feel than my grandmother that feels a little more dense, a little more grandmotherly than my
mhm.
guide who's floating around going, "Oh, by the way, do this instead of that." And like when you were talking about look it up, and I was like, and all of a sudden I heard new tab. They can still see you, right? But then he stepped back because he knew that I didn't need him anymore, right? But then I had a choice, being the human I am. Oh no, I'll figure it out later. I'm not gonna look it up now, and it will come and people can go look it up if they're interested. And then Sue, thank you very much, looked it up for me. I love Sue. Uh, and so, going into this negotiation, this is the season. Believe that this is a season that we can feel the love that's from our family, but discern when and where that happens. You know,
Mhm.
I put up boundaries, especially in bed. I meditate for a few minutes before I start reading, and then after that, it's like me, 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 me. Nobody comes in. Nobody comes in. So, um,
So I
with
want to circle back real fast on this
yeah, please
difference
do.
between ancestors and guides. Um, I don't know if I was able to be really clear about that. Guides, I think, have crossed through to the source light. Some ancestors haven't.
Yes.
Ancestors can shift to be a guide, and
Hmm.
to be in there. Like my grandmothers, they'll come in and just, hang out with me and give me that kind of grandmotherly love
Hmm.
that I felt I missed out on. But I feel they have crossed through to the door to the other side, done that processing. So for me, though, I don't see them as guides. They just kind of hang out like a nice blanket. But then Archangel Michael and other guides that I have crossed through, and I can call on them. Like my dad finally crossed through, so he helps me with other stuff now.
Hmm.
So I
Yeah,
don't know.
I know,
It's all.
like, yeah, my mom feels very dense compared to my dad. My dad, like I said, was 1 foot in this world, 1 foot in the other world. He had the
Yeah.
total he was another, he was intuitive, he was another medium. He very much knew what he was walking into. So when he crossed over, it was like, "Okay, I'm here. Now it's time to do the work," right? He was on the fast train to China, the bullet train, right? And so, going into that, so when my dad visits me, I know it's more of a guide feeling
Mhm.
because he was very light in his body. And then, but my mom and my uncle, my grandparents, they feel more funky, for lack of a better word, just that heaviness and that more thick. And you can see that like when you are watching a lot of these videos or shows that are about, is this castle haunted and that kind of stuff. And you can tell that those energies are denser. Now, I want to make it clear, darkness does not mean denseness.
Sure.
You know, sometimes a soul will not be light, will not be white. That doesn't mean that they're not. If you see darkness, it doesn't always mean evil. You know, there's sometimes where shadows are shadows because, I'm grateful for my loved ones that they don't take energy from me to create light. That they don't have to. My dad, he's made of an angelic realm, and so he comes across more lighter, where there's some of our loved ones that will be more darker and more dense, and that's just part of their makeup energetically, not because they're dark. So to make that clear, that darkness does not always mean evil.
That's good. That's a good point. It could be like with my other brother, he comes across as kind of dark, but that's because he had mental health issues that informed his life.
Hmm.
And he's have you gone through, Chris? Yeah, he's still like hanging out. So, he can go through if he wants, but I think there are issues. He wasn't necessarily evil. I don't think he was
Hmm.
evil. But the darkness could be a reflection of some of the issues they were dealing with in the body. So yeah, that's a nice point to bring up there, Natasha. Thank you.
Yeah, and darkness isn't always evil either. Or things,
Mhm.
like I said last week that my kid had two of the elementals that were dark, but they were they were like dark vacuum cleaners, because she was full of depression, and so she had this dark energy that was needed to
Mhm.
be dark to pick up the darkness, right? And so actually what the work that they were doing was pretty light work. It was light work even though they were dark, and kind of, I had to make sure that they didn't become, you know uh, more negative,
Mhm.
and I had to put boundaries on them, so they weren't going to become detrimental. But yet at the same time, they did do the work. And when my kid moved out, it was like, guess who's moving out too? Because we didn't need them anymore, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And transition of time helped them move on too. So, it's one of those things. I do hope though that this show today was something about how, in between now, All Souls Day, and the holidays season, that through January, that and next year you're gonna this veil is not going away. I mean, it's not gonna be getting any thicker. It's it's gonna be more and more where we're gonna see things and we're gonna know things. So if you see things out of the corner of your eye, first ask the question, who are you? And then trust the first thing that pops in your head.
Mhm.
First thing, because your mind's going to overpower it. So think about what is the first thing you hear, right? And then remembering that out of the corner of your eye is usually more what you're going to see, because when you focus on something, you don't always see something. I know for me that a lot of times if I just kind of haze my eyes a little bit, unfocus my eyes just a little bit, that's where that whole spirit realm just kind of comes right away, right? Because that's that I'm taking my focus vision off of it and letting the vision of just that the unfocusedness, which is basically what the spirit world is unfocused, right?
Yeah, I see it in the perimeter. I'll get things on just kind of on just outside of my clear vision. And I agree. Ask what it is and if yeah, what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, the veil is not going to get thicker. More things as we bring more awareness to our spirituality and to how our energy impacts other energies and vice versa. Things are shifting in a way, sometimes not as fast as we want. Okay.
Mhm.
That's when I have to sit there and go, it's happening in the time so that, other people can acclimate, so I can acclimate. It's not I'm not gonna be perfect in it. I still have my acclimations to do. But
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
And I wanna make this clear too, that Susie may hear spirit in her way. I hear it in my way. There's some similarities, but we do not compare, "Oh, I'm not a medium because I don't do it like you."
Oh,
And you know, it's
yeah.
like we don't nah, nah, we just trust that we are seeing it. And the word when we use the word seeing it, it means either in our mind's eye, in our our eyes, or in our knowing somehow. It's not like, it's not like, oh, I truly see everything. It's like I we all have ways of doing things differently. And so please remember that when you hear spirit, when you interact with spirit, it's your unique way. And
Mhm,
tune into that unique way so that you can grow your knowings a little bit more and more events and more going. And then as you advance that, you are going to find the other clairs start stepping in, and because you start trusting it. So if you say, "Oh, I don't get it because I'm not getting it like Natasha or Susie." Oh, no, no, no,
yeah,
no, no. You have to trust what your unique self is getting it and how you're getting it. And then keep asking questions. Because when I say, what's the first thing you hear? Well, it could be that you feel it, you know it, you sense it, you get it. It's like whatever that first sense is, that's the way to
mhm.
negotiate it.
Yeah. Yeah, not everybody presents the same way. I mean, none of us present the same way. I tend to be like all kinds of jazz hands when I do stuff. And I have encountered people who saying, I want to do it your way. It's like, no, you don't. You want to do it your way. And
Mhm.
I think that's what Natasha and I are here and a lot and practitioners in general are here is to help everybody develop their own way to present and to tap in and to hear, see, feel, know, smell, whatever it is to help an individual develop their own skills and talents. Because,
Mhm.
you know, it's a fascinating way, it's a fascinating new aspect of looking at life when you can see beyond the physical. You don't have to, but you can. And it's really, I have a great time.
I do too.
I
I
love
really
what
do
I
too.
do.
Yeah, because I love knowing beyond the physical, and seeing beyond it and hearing, and I just wanted to add more on to what you were saying, that it is amazing, but it does. If you open up the front door, you have to remember there's a back door. And that is called boundaries. And that is knowing that, when you go, oh, now I can hear this and this and this. Well, be careful. Like, there was one time I was in a class, and they were channeling, and there was a spirit that came up, and I went, no. And one
Mhm.
person channeled that because didn't know the boundaries and didn't feel the full, he kind of cloaked himself, and she had a hard time getting rid of him.
Yeah.
And it took the teacher working with him to get him off of her. And so with that remembering that if you are saying yay, you need to have just as many boundaries.
Yep.
And be aware that, if you're not comfortable with saying the yay yay, just say one yay, and then find your boundaries, and then say the next yay yay, and then find the boundaries, and then they go the yay 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 yay, and then find the boundaries, right? It's about evolution and strategy and practice and discernment, and knowing that there's love out there, but not everything in spirit is love. And it is about knowing um that you know there's tough love as much as there is love. So have a little tough love with the universe, you'll get a lot farther. So Susie, we're at 5 o'clock. Can you believe this hour went already?
It went so fast. We had great time. Thank you all for your interaction with us. Thank you, Sue, for helping us figure out what it is we do as far as which Claire we're using. I appreciate all the interaction we get. Thank you all for watching. I'm Susie Parker Goins. You can find me at bluelightninghealing.com. I'll be at the BEPC Expo this weekend, November 4th and 5th. And yeah, I've got my events listed on my website, and I do my own podcast lately. It has been, well, for the last year, it's been Light Language, where I bring up a topic and then I will light language. And for me, that's vocalizing or singing. You can find it on my YouTube channel. You can find it on my website. I'm on Spotify. I'm, wherever the little pod bots go and find me, I can be there. That's under Blue Lightning Healing Meditations. I am so grateful for the time and sharing the space with Natasha, and I look forward to seeing you all in December.
Yes, Susie is here the first Wednesday of the month, for one more time, as we know. And then I don't have anybody for the second time, so that will be just me the second month. And then the third week of November, the week before Thanksgiving, will be we will be oh God. you do you ever find this right when you're going to say somebody's name, it pops out of your head?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I feel so I dislike this. Regan Forston is gonna be back. See, it had to pop back in. So
We're going
Regan's gonna
back
be back
to this,
the 3rd.
well,
Yep, right before Thanksgiving. So blessings, everyone, and know that you're a miracle in the work. I'm Natasha Venter. This podcast can also be on, I put it right on podcast again, so that if you know somebody who wants to listen and not see anything, this is also on many different podcast platforms, Every Day with an Angel. Blessings, everyone, and know that no matter where you're at, life is happening, and perspective and the way you say your life is pretty much what's going to happen. So be aware of what you're saying and thinking in your life. Be as positive and loving as you can. And even when you're not, God, I was cranky yesterday morning. Oh, I was like, I called my friend and I said, get me out of the house, please, because I don't want to work. But what I ended up doing was, as I kept saying, I'm grateful that I'm out of the house. I'm grateful I'm in my car. I'm grateful that I'm on my way to my job. Thank you, job, for being here. I'm so grateful for you, because I did not want to be in my anger, frustration. So blessings to everyone, and know that no matter where you're at, life is happening. My love is with you. See you on my Everyday with an Angel short podcast, and next Wednesday at 4 o'clock Pacific time. Bye now. Thank you, Susie.
sure.